Hello, and welcome to Wednesday's Child, a podcast for inspiring no fluff conversations about authenticity, equity, and representation, all within the world of brand storytelling. We are here to create space for connection and growth, and yes, those transformational experiences I know our listeners need. I am your host, Danisha Lomax, Queen of Culture, and yes, absolutely, Queen of Wednesdays. Be sure to check out our other episodes featuring some amazing leaders in culture, in community, and all things brand storytelling. Let's jump into our episode. Hope you enjoy. Today on Wednesday's Child Pod is Isabella Acker, founder of Tigre Studios and Tigre Sounds. Listen, y'all, if you love music, Miami, and disrupting your entire cultural sense and scene, you want to stick around for this conversation. Isabella, hello, and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. What a beautiful intro.
Well, girl, thank you so much for being here. I've been looking forward to this for a week and a half. I know we had a schedule situation. That's all on me, but I'm so glad you're here.
I love that. I feel like more people need permission slips to show up like themselves, to know that that's kind of really what people are longing for. It's a sense of leadership that I think is needed in the space. So I'm so happy that we get to do that together.
Yes. So we're going to be passing out permission slips with this podcast. Absolutely. I'm gonna never forget that. But one of the things I like to do to set the stage for our listeners, is actually get into the big three. Would love for you to tell the listeners what your big three is: your sun, your moon, your rising, and obviously, please share more if you'd like to.
Sure. Yeah. So my sun is a Capricorn, my rising is in Cancer, and my moon is in Aries. I really feel like I move in the world as a Cancer, but I know on a professional identity, it feels like it fits with the Capricorn side, but my like mushy, vulnerable side is really how I lead in the world. So
Well, first of all, no one other than a Capricorn can found a company like you did off of a dream, but like very methodical, getting it done and being amazing in the world. So shout out to you for that.
aw,
But I think like bridging that like stick to itiveness, that go getter attitude with the Cancer is beautiful because emotions, the feels, that's all the things. And I think that that is the beauty and the heart of a business. And we don't actually see a lot of that today.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I think, yeah, there's a lot of duality in that, which, it's funny because I think Capricorns do have that reputation as this very, high performing type of, way of moving in the world, which I don't really always connect with that. I actually speak a lot about slow living. I think I briefly on our pre-brief, we spoke about, I spent a month in Europe. I was driving up through the coast of Portugal. And I love to talk about how important it is to disconnect. I think the creative process can feel so, I mean, it can drive you nuts, right? Like it's so time consuming. It's the personification of getting out an idea and then the monetizing it on this whole other side of that. But there's a feeling of not being so restrictive around how you want something to show up in the world. And as a Capricorn, like you feel like that's not really the
That's
vibe
not
of
the
the
vibe.
brand.
That's not the vibe y'all go
Yeah.
for at all.
I know.
Um,
I know. What are yours again? I forgot you
yes.
mentioned that.
Gemini sun, Pisces moon, Libra rising. And I often say that the Libra definitely balances out the Gemini. There's a lot of driven, being ambitious that a Gemini has, and I definitely resonate with that. I'm also ruled by Mercury in my communication, so there's just a lot. I'm always going. I'm always
Yeah.
going. But then the Libra is very much like, girl, you need to chill. Like, what have you done for you? Or you might just need to like read a book, sit down. And so I appreciate that balance that, it brings me.
Of course. I know as you get older, I feel like you just like accept the duality as like such a great part of who we are. And also, like, you know, the unlearning of the girl boss toxic stuff is like important to sign or no sign. It's just a
Truly.
reality of like, you know, how we move in the States and how, you know, we've all been raised here. And then there's that feeling that your worth is connected to output. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to like unlearn some of that.
Yeah. I also feel like as a woman of color, as a Black woman, there's a lot of that too of unlearning. Like it's not about productivity. It's not about always having to move. Yes, there's a lot of being better and showing up and doing more just to feel like you're doing it. But the unlearning, like you said, is so important, which I actually want my listeners to hear about your months away and what that gave you, what you learned more about yourself. We're definitely going to get into your background. So, listeners, do not worry. This woman has an amazing background. She's done some amazing things. But I think starting off with how you just unplugged would be a change of pace for us. So, please do.
Yeah. So happy to share. I mean, it's funny because there was very much that duality of like, is this something that I can do? Am I going to be public about it? Am I going to like have more of an internal experience about it? And, you know, in Miami, we are seasonal. So summer is slow here. And I think there is this feeling of, you know, like people are traveling. And so, yeah, I decided to book a one way. I landed in I landed in Ibiza. My friend was playing, dear friend was playing for a couple of days, and then I spent the rest of the trip all through the coast up through Portugal and ended up in Galicia. And I felt like you know, I haven't really felt like fully solo traveled like I did on this trip, and that's like getting the car and going through really narrow like alleyways.
Like
Yeah,
you did.
navigating just like a sense of just like, okay, I am gonna figure all this out. And it was this incredible, you know, I think anytime you do something that's difficult, that's like doing something you said you were always gonna do. I always said I wanted to go up the Portuguese coast. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's a feeling of like you're showing up in the version that you want to in the world when you commit to these like little promises. And, you know, I think like, especially when you're in creative spaces and industries, you know, it's hard to just like demand and output creativity when you like, okay, I'm going to open my laptop on a Tuesday and come up with some campaign ideas.
An
And
idea.
yeah, it's like it doesn't always happen like that, you know? And so I think the spaciousness of that felt so incredibly, I mean, like, just like a sigh of breath of fresh air where I was like, wow, I am like allowing myself to do something like this. It made me think also, what's the kind of life that I want to build where I can feel like I can say yes to doing this? Unknowing the guilt around being able to do that. Because in the end, we can all kind of digital nomad unless you, of course, have a reason to, you have to be face to face. But, you know, COVID taught us that we can be remote. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think who you are and how you move in the world when you're alone is really different than when you have your friends. And so I feel like I leaned in a lot more to curiosity. I didn't lead with any professional like versions of myself, which was also so amazing because
Yeah.
we are so many more things than the things that we do and how we,
That's right.
you know, yeah, I feel like there's a feeling of that in the world that also people are craving. Like, really, just like, who are you and your essence outside of what you do? And I've noticed there's a lot of resonance with that. I'm sure you probably feel the same way when you travel.
So, fun fact, I have never solo traveled in that way, in a way that allows you to just take down your guard the way you did, but it's on my wish list. I've also been watching Tracy Ellis Ross's solo travel on Roku, and I was like, I need to get in there. Mind you, listener and
I
bias,
just saw that. I was so excited
it's
to watch the
so
show.
good. It's so good. She's so vulnerable. But even hearing you talk about your vulnerability in that I'm just alone, I'm out there, but you know the boundaries that I set for myself. And mind you, boundaries are good things. I'm not going to lead with a professional. I'm going to lead with this is who I am, and who I am is all of me. And I love that. So I'm going to be taking notes from both of you on how to do that. You know, I got to get these kids in college and whatnot, you know, sooner than later. But that will take its time. And when it happens, I'll be ready because I got
I love
there are people to look up to. But I want to, taking everything you just said, I actually want to bring it back because I have to believe that there were some elements of how you were moving on this solo trip that made you launch Tigre Sounds. So talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us about how your roots globally, and you settling in Miami, opened this pathway up for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I really leaned into a lot of my curiosity. I do lead with I'm, a music curator. I do most of the curation you see
Yeah.
on our feed. All the shows that we are connected to, they're kind of artists that we've been building partnerships with. But I'm so drawn to creatives, artists who have lived in this like genreless box, right? For lack of a better word, which is just like genre fluid, genre breaking, fusing worlds, and have never really felt like they've had a home or their platform or their sense of space. And it's funny because as I think about a lot of the things that I'm drawn to, it's usually a lot of these what feel like outliers, of like people who are do a thing and like, oh, I'm pitching my music and no one's really like connecting with it until all of a sudden you find your people and then you're like not that alone anymore. It's like such a metaphor for life too. And so wait, what was the question around Puerto Rico?
Got your question. You're like,
Yeah, it was
I was really wanting our listeners to understand how you took that thinking and curiosity that you brought to solo travel to how you started Tigre Sounds, and you did Kenny. This is how I did it. I'm music curious. This is a part of my life, but I love your points around genre blending and bending and looking for people who exist outside of the conformity. My word, not yours, but I was feeling that vibe as you were talking. So please continue.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a connection with that, and there's they say a really great ideas latch on to the people who end up putting them out into the world. And I've always felt such a kinship with Pharrell. I think I mentioned this on
Yeah,
when
we were talking about
the other day. Yeah, and he built the brand I Am Other amongst like so many other iconic things based around a very similar, I think, concept of just people not fitting into a box. I think more leadership is needed in this space in traditional music practices. Like
yeah.
bands were always supposed to like not be too many things and people have to know how to associate you and which choice, and it was this feeling around like you needed to be that, and I never connected with that. And as time has changed, as things have evolved, of course, like now the opposite is celebrated, and now everything, I'm like, how would you describe these 8 genres in one? Psychedelic, yeah, electronic with like sounds of an underbeat. There's like so many versions and influences that you're hearing in the whole land of, I think, music exploration. And I nerd out on all of it because you're just like, you see how people, we are citizens of the world. A lot of people live in one place, born in another. Your blood is from here, your nationality, but what you lead with is even something else. I've always called myself a citizen of the world. Even though I was born and raised in Atlanta, I've always felt this sense of, like, I'm not from here, I'm not from there. In Spanish, it's ni de aquí ni de allá, which is a slogan. Yeah, I mean, it's many songs, but there's a feeling where I came to see as I got older in life, a lot of people feel a sense of connection to that. And I think it's because when you travel, when you go to cities, when you move, when you go to school, when you meet your partners, like those places become a part of you. And so, no, like, yeah, your identity becomes forged into that. And so naturally, the way you listen to music, the way you move in the world, the culture, um, makes you so sensitive, I think, to like that yearning for more.
Yeah. I love what you said about not being from here nor there. I just Outcast popped in my head when you said that. Erica Badu popped in my head. But even just like for y'all who have not seen the page, what she has on her feed, the artists that she's finding and curating, please do check her out, them out. It's so amazing. Women, people skateboarding down landscapes while also playing rapping and things of that nature. It's so dope. And I think it just goes to show you that over history, people have loved to put people in boxes. And I think, yeah, finally, to your point around permission, we are giving ourselves the permission to build the brand, to build
Yeah.
the ecosystem, to do the music, to coexist outside of all these places with the boundaries that we want for ourselves. And I just love that you're doing that with your brand.
I mean, it feels so needed, right? Like the world that we're disrupting is the term that a lot of genre for many years, and
Yes.
as people know it, is world music. And I think world
Yeah.
music has always had this connotation as it's like so niche, and it's not really like it's like so much that you actually don't contextualize what kind of music that is. And so,
Yeah.
we actually have reframed that. We call it global sounds. We
Yes.
have a big emphasis on Latin because we are Miami based and bilingual. I have on an industry level, I've worked in the Latin, music for the last 12 years. I've seen so much opportunity in what it means to actually also change perception of Latin music. I think
Yeah.
uh, the gatekeepers of all industries, right? We're seeing them all change,
Everywhere.
and I think exactly. And I love it because what it makes you feel is you're empowered to put your colors to what you would do. And so I don't like really knock on any shade on anything. It's more just like there's more representation and diversity needed so deeply in these spaces. And I'm not even like, sometimes I don't even talk about it. It's like, we're just going to show you what it's it.
Girl, I'm with you on that one. It's like I'm not gonna. There is shade for sure, but am I gonna shake that shade tree? Absolutely not, because you know what I'm about to do. We're gonna show you what it could be over here,
Yeah.
and that is what I love about what you're doing. So for our listeners, for the people who should be working with Tigre, can you share some ways that you have brought that global view to brands, whether it's Spotify, Sony Music? I know we've talked about that before, but what does it actually look like to bring those cultural first ideas forward and to have
Yeah.
brands be receptive to them?
Yeah. It's something that I love to do because what I recognize, it's funny when you don't work with brands when you start, you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, why don't they get it? Or why don't they know? And the truth is, it's like there's no big bad brand manager. It's just a true like
Really good point.
representation of people being really out of touch with culture. And so what I've come to understand as I sit in more, round tables where decisions are made, where budgets are created, where campaigns are being forged, that most powerful thing you could do with any brand marketer is to have somebody who's in the scene who actually understands what is the landscape, and I'm
Yes.
grateful that I can speak to it locally and now globally. Our brand has become so much bigger than Miami, which has been a beautiful blessing and a
Yeah.
curse. When you get viral, you're like,
You're
no, my
you're always, yeah, you're always on the road.
exactly. And there's a feeling of like I am community based, but you like always need to know who you're talking to. But coming back to it is I think it's important to understand the landscape so that you can better actually speak to what would make a campaign powerful. I think um Bad Bunny's amazing global success, there is a feeling of that is Latin music and that is Latin music alone. And I'm so grateful that he forged, I mean, what has been, I mean, you could, there's a whole talk on like
Right.
everything.
It's an amazing
It's,
hat for, yeah,
it's,
absolutely.
it's incredible. And at the same time, there's like 1,000 other genres that sit within Latin that also, don't really necessarily have the same type of, I mean, I'm just gonna say the word knowledge. Like people just it's like that simple. It's like they don't even categorically know how to name it. And I think I do know Miami is a microcosm. So I know I'm very exposed here in the little bit of like the realm and colors of Latin. But I knew long ago that I didn't only want to work just in Latin because there was a feeling of people who we've always been a music forward brand. Anybody who really cares about music, you don't need to put it into
And a
our genre. Yeah, exactly. And
Mm.
so I was like, it's so important that we're always both. Latin is our roots, but global sounds is our POV. And I think I'm so inspired um by artists, by the community who really put music forward first. Like you'll notice that in all of our events, in all of the things we do, it's just like a really music forward brand. It's the thing that's the number one filter beyond aesthetics, beyond the music video, beyond followers. We don't really care about any of that. It's actually just
Agree.
like stuff. Yeah, that feels really connected to. So yeah, so all this to say with brands, like we just love to be at the space of what it means to enlighten um, people and decision makers around what a powerful campaign you can throw, and then you can move an incredible campaign while also solving a music scene problem, a social problem. There's a feeling of, can we move in a space where we can do both? Because campaigns are that. They're so powerful.
To be. Yeah, I think if people aren't one dimensional, as we've been talking about with artists and genres, so why do we think a campaign should be one KPI or one objective? Like that just isn't the way people move through the world. I also really love that you said your roots are your Latin is your roots, but you have a global POV. And I just think to the point of knowledge, right? It's a little bit like the box we've been talking about because you can
Yeah.
learn and there are platforms like yours that are out there. It's just how do we ensure that we have people around the table who take that local community cultural view so critically to their everyday job. And that's what I think we need more brands to do.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. This is in all spaces. I mean, I speak to music because it's the industry, music and media. But I think there is something to be said. I am like so humbly a student of life. The more I go into music curation, the more I'm like, wow, there are. I mean, there's 20,000 songs released a day. When you contextualize what that,
Songs releases.
yeah,
I can't even.
it's just like your mind is blown with like how much exists in consumption. And we're going through this moment in life right now, which is, the social media recession, which is so real. Like we're dealing with just like an overwhelming amount of exhaustion with what we're consuming. And so I read this amazing Substack, which I can't quote the author because I don't remember the author, but it was Taste is the New Intelligence. And it's really
Ooh, let's huddle that. Taste is the new intelligence.
yeah,
And when you find the author, we'll make sure that we add it to our notes so people can go read and listen. But please tell us about that.
well, I connected with this so hard. Obviously, being a curator, I like really sit in a space of when I read so much of this, it was like really validating that we're in this moment that's kind of unprecedented in social human history of like, we actually have no idea what's happening to our brains, our spirits, our souls with what is this overwhelming amount of exposure to technology information. And so it basically was just saying like the things that everything is algorithms. So at this point, if your attention is so limited, you're going to trust the filters of the people that have already done all of that for you, serving platter, right? Which has always been, I think there's been value to that, but more than ever now because of what is happening with where we are. And so yeah, I think, it makes me also want to have an even better filter for the things that we're curating, because because there's an ability to always up level any craft, and as we have more audiences, like we're also being held to other standards of sorts. And it's like, okay, we posted one Spanish artist and a Nigerian artist. And I'm like, oh, we have so many more. There's a feeling of like, now there's a microphone with so many engaged people, artists, and people that feel like we're here to really like serve the mission, right, of music discovery. And so you feel connected to a sense of duty, mission, purpose, representation, because when you speak to that many people, it is a responsibility,
I love that you said that. Because it's also making me think about the point of taste and the fact that you are that curator. So making sure that your responsibility to artists, to knowledge, to more music is felt by the brands, but also felt by your community. I love that so much because it's absolutely tied to your spiritual connection and how you let that lead, how you curate your feed, how you curate your artists, how you curate the work that you do. So we got into all of our big threes. We know that curiosity leads you, and you have the dual purpose of that drivenness, but also really leaning into your emotions and how that moves through you. What How did that actually inspire you to get into this industry and to lead Tigre the way you do?
I mean, I love to talk about it. I feel like when you are bullied in high school, which y'all could die,
Let's start there.
which listen, I now know like talk about it as a singular experience. I come to realize like it's actually a collective thing where everybody feels,
Absolutely.
in that experience of not feeling seen, not feeling a sense of belonging, but it is my psychological superpower and sensitivity to make people feel a sense of place, because it's so much of what moves me in the world. Like music was this way for people to feel like they can gather and feel like themselves and feel connected to the highest form of creative expression. And so like that has been my compass. I've actually noticed that's why for so many years I did community building. Events obviously is that, but events has like, you have to wear also very much the logistics brain, which I don't love as much. Yeah, many hats. You have to kind of be in a different space. And I feel like I'm in a softer era where I love to be intentional around the energy that I put in, the things that we're connected to. I try to be always very thoughtful and always make sure that we are leading with the kind of music scene that we want to live in, right? Which is one more inclusive, one more interesting, one that is music forward, one that is supporting the untold story, one that is like championing somebody who just needed the mic. There's a feeling of like so much underdog anything. That I love, right? Because now we live in a world where everybody can actually create their media brands. Like it is really, we are there. And so if you have something to say, like, what do you stand for? What do you care about? Who are the people that are your allies, And so I think that vulnerability has always been my, the way that I move in the world, because it's how I want to connect with people, be real, feel a sense of, you can like drop in, I'm sure you've probably felt the same way.
I absolutely resonate with that. The sense of belonging, even in this industry very, very early on, not feeling like I saw myself represented, being a young single mom, like all of things, right? And so using our experiences to enlighten someone else's experience is really that spiritual connection and what I hope all of Wednesday's Child listeners can take from our conversations, and definitely the conversation I'm having with you. I feel like you dropped so many gems for people, into anyone who wants to get into this space. One last piece of advice before we get into our fun round of questions for you and before we read your card. What would you say that they should do?
I think that you have to lead with really something that you love so deeply. For me, feeling a sense of purpose is so connected to a psychology of like creating a sense of place, whether it's on the internet or in person. And I've noticed that no matter what media I'm working with, from music to events to writing articles to, like any way in which we're moving, that's my motivator. Like I actually know if I change industries too, like that's going to be something that moves me. So I would give people the advice around find your psychological values, because that can shapeshift, and I think identity is like, yeah, I love it because, I'm like, there's a part of me that I'm just like, I see myself, building ceramics and living in a park bench eating ice creams, but like, I probably will be the one gathering the people at the park. There is a feeling of like, whatever you do, like there you are, And so I think that more people want to be seen in the world and feel seen. It just needs more leadership. So just find your areas of like how you can express that. Don't hold creativity so tightly. That's like another one, is like, it took me so long to figure out, what we call like an aligned path, right? Because there's times when then you're working with brands you don't like, or you're working with the powers that be that you're just like, this doesn't really feel like my values are there. And so you kind of got to like get in the trenches, live the thing. And also you become discerning from realizing what you love and really what you do not feel connected to. And so it's like a more playful energy to the creative process is so needed. I like The Artist Way and The Creative Act. There's so many great books about all of this that I think liberate people from the role of what it means to put an idea out into the world. And I love talking about this because I realize that's where we get stuck. Like that is the place so many people
That's the
stop.
place
Yeah.
where they stop, where they don't let creativity come through. I mean, I feel like we are all about to be liberated from our conversation today. All of those gems were amazing. I'm going to need those books. But most of all, I love what you said around oftentimes we're looking for external alignment. And when we're in alignment with ourselves,
Yeah.
we can find ways to move through uh, whoever we're working with or whatever we're working on, because that alignment no one can take away. It's your psychological purpose.
And it could take years.
We were not we didn't arrive.
Yeah. I know. It's like give yourself some grace too. Of course. I think people like expect things to have such an output, and like you also have to become like a master of your craft, right? Like what are you great at? What do you like? What's your zone of genius? Actually, for many years, I was like, an event producer. Like that's how a lot of people actually know me here in Miami. And it is not my zone of genius. I came to meet people who were 10 times better at it than I was because logistics is not my superpower, but I love
Thing to do. Yeah, no, it's that level of detail. That's how we knew your Cancer rising was leading you this entire time, right? Like we knew what it was. Okay, we are about to get into a lightning round of fun questions before we close the show. So really quick, off the top of your head, don't think too hard. What's one song on repeat for you right now?
Ooh, Sinego, his new song "Te Perdí." Amazing.
Okay.
Mexican electronic song, which is in our summer playlist.
Okay. All right. Dream artist or brand you love to collaborate with?
Pharrell, because I think about him often.
Put it in. You said it a few times. Yes.
I say because I'm speaking it into existence. I love him so much. And brand, I saw Lady Gaga's new makeup brand the other day, and I was like so blown away by. I mean, she's just a creative force. So anything with her.
Okay. What is a thing, a essence that best represents your creative energy? Could literally be anything.
Essence. I think I love to keep it real.
Okay. Keep it real. We love to see it.
And like, authentic, dropped into like, who I am. I don't know if that was like really the question.
No, that's great. We love it. Okay. I think you'll love this one. Creativity is fill in the blank.
Limitless.
Oof. Creativity is limitless, y'all. You heard that. Okay. Yes. Like I said, one of the things we love to do for our guests on the show is pull a tarot card. I actually have a tarot deck. It's The Lineages of Change Tarot by Adrienne Marie Brown, and she put this deck together with some friends of hers, so definitely check her out if you don't follow her today. But essentially, it's the star card, and I want to read it for you because I think it's right to do. The keywords are unique, light, illumination, collaboration, vision, and direction. Oh, star, you've traversed such an unimaginable distance, and now you are here to light the way for others. You know how to be part of the constellation with stars much older and younger than yourself, near and far. You have learned to shine without self-consciousness. There's nothing to do now. It is time to simply be. What is unique in you is undeniable, and those who need to follow you are already blessed to be in your existence. Hope that resonated with you. Just inspired by everything you do. You are a star. You are a shining light in this industry, in music, in the event space, in the spiritual space. So I'm just so pleased to have you on the pod, have our listeners be able to get a glimpse of who you are and take away some amazing things. So
thank you so much, Nisha. The thing is mutual. It feels so good to just, be able to sit here with you and have these much needed dialogues. I think more people are looking for their spaces, their warm places on the internet that have their people, so grateful are you, and creating this community of people who are, searching for depth and realness and a sense of place.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate you. And to our listeners, again, I'm your host, Danisha Lomax. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more from Wednesday's Child. Y'all already know what to do. Subscribe and question everything again. That's really where the true magic lies. Thank you.